Good afternoon, beautiful people, and happy Saturday. There's a new controversy out of St. Louis that got parents, teachers, and taxpayers all asking the same questions. What's really going on inside the city's public schools? The St. Louis Public Schools Board has just fired a superintendent, Dr. Millicent Borishade, and apparently they did it without cause. No misconduct, no explanation, just gone. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Nelly Miranda.
Sudden exit. St. Louis Public Schools fires Superintendent Millicent Borishade. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Maxwell in for Brent and Ann. It was just within the last 2 hours we learned that decision to fire the superintendent was made during a closed session of a special board meeting today. And Megan, we're just 9 weeks into this new school year, so what are you learning about why this happened now?
Yeah, that's right, Mark. And just about 2 hours ago, 2 armed security guards walked former Superintendent Dr. Millicent Borishade out of the doors behind me. As for why she was fired, we still haven't heard from the school district on that yet. KSTK were the only cameras that caught her being escorted out of the building. Moments after that, we called Dr. Borishade. She told us she was told today she was being terminated without cause. She's been at the district since December of 2024, and the board officially voted her in as permanent superintendent in February. Just moments ago, I spoke to union spokesperson Byron Clemens, who says they are fully supporting the board's decision.
She says she was blindsided, telling reporters there was no warning, no discussion, just an escort out of the building. And if that sounds chaotic, it is, because Borishade is now the fifth superintendent to lead St. Louis schools since 2022. That is 5 leadership changes in just 3 years. That is not reform. That's dysfunction. Here's what we know. The board voted 6-0 in a closed-door meeting, meaning no one in the public got to hear the reasoning. One board member, Ben Conover, even said afterward he didn't agree with the decision, but he had to leave before the final vote.
In a statement, board member Ben Conover said in part, the vote is being reported as 6 in favor of removing Dr. Borishade as superintendent and 0 against. Conover also said, I would have voted no.
Borishade, I've heard Borishade, I've heard Borishade, but she has been in the permanent role for less than a year. She took over in February after serving as interim and was already facing intense pressure. Enrollment is down, facilities are crumbling, and she was proposing a plan to possibly close up to 37 of the district's 68 buildings. And that did not sit well with the teachers' union, which had already passed a vote of no confidence in her leadership.
The St. Louis Public School Board has fired its superintendent. The teachers' union, AFT Local 420, tells us the board voted to remove Millicent Borishade from the position. This is what she took over after interim superintendent in July 2024, before officially getting the job in February. This news comes less than 2 months after the union filed a no-confidence petition with 2,000 signatures on it. Borishade had recently come under fire after a district proposal to close more than half of its district's schools. Union spokesperson Byron Clemens believes that the petition played a role in her firing, but says there likely wasn't one single issue.
We were real disappointed after the tornado hit an already traumatized area, and one of the responses was to release a study to close schools, and that just wasn't acceptable for us. So we want to hear a different narrative, and we're looking forward to hearing it.
He said, quote, that wasn't acceptable for us. We want to hear a different narrative. In other words, we are not trying to hear all that. So we had to give her the boot.
This is a personnel issue that the school board took this action, but we have to say we are absolutely supportive of the elected school board, and the action they took today seems like it's moving us forward. And that's what we're interested in doing. Instead of talking about closing schools, let's talk about revitalizing and rebirthing the St. Louis public schools.
So instead of backing her tough decisions, the board removed her behind closed doors without telling the public why. This is the same story we see in failing school districts all across America. Bureaucrats protecting the system instead of fixing it. When enrollment drops, buildings sit half empty, and test scores continue to fall, somebody has to make tough calls. It looks to me like that's what Borishade was trying to do, but the second she challenged the unions, the board, or the status quo, she became the problem. I think this is exactly why public education keeps collapsing in big cities. There's no real accountability. There's too much politics, too many layers of bureaucracy, and too little focus on the students.
Borishade told us she walked into work and was told she was being terminated without cause.
And the ball was in their court about what to do about the situation we were in, and they took action. We do support the elected school board.
Borishade had been at the school district since December of 2024. The board officially voted her in as permanent superintendent 8 months ago. In August, nearly 2,000 members of the local teachers union signed a vote of no confidence in Borishade. The petition cited Borishade's plan to relocate 7 schools damaged by the May 16th tornado and her plans in July to close more than half school buildings due to declining enrollment. Union spokesman Byron Clemens says many people had concerns about Borishade's plan.
Where we talked about just closing schools right after a tornado is where we started to part ways on some of these issues. Superintendents are often like hired guns, and they come in and go for a few years and then they leave.
As word quickly spread about Borishade being dismissed 9 weeks into the school year, parents weighed in.
I think that people already kind of had their opinions and led with that, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that it came to this so fast, but I'm not surprised.
And think about the message this sends. If a superintendent tries to be bold and fix the system, they get shown the door, fired without cause. That's government talk for, we don't like the direction you're taking. Parents deserve better. Teachers deserve stability, and taxpayers deserve to know why their district is being run like a revolving door. This is the 5th superintendent in 3 years. 5. That's complete chaos. No private organization could function like that. Yet public schools do it all the time, and the same people calling for more funding are the ones blocking reform every time it threatens their control.
John, this week marks a fresh reset for the St. Louis Public Schools Board of Education. 3 new members were sworn in at last night's board meeting, including a new school board president. And this fresh start comes with high expectations and even bigger challenges here. Newly elected President Karen Collins Adams, Secretary Brian Marston, and board member AJ Foster say they are ready to restore public trust. And that includes tackling a projected $35 million budget deficit and addressing a delayed audit that could cost the district points toward accreditation. Dr. Borishade issuing a statement reading in part, I welcome the new board members' desire to conduct a thorough review of the district's operations and my role within it. I also welcome their scrutiny and look forward to building a productive working relationship, as I believe we all have the same mission in mind to ensure SLPS provides every student with a quality education that helps them fulfill their potential.
10 months ago, Borishade requested that all district credit card holders turn in their cards in an effort to clean up reckless spending. And just like that, she became the problem. They were like, what do you mean coffee and donuts are no longer on the district? Bet that. We'll see if you have a job in a few months. That's not funny. But it's so funny that in these school systems, you can waste millions and keep your job, but try to save a few dollars and suddenly you're the enemy.
After a third-party investigation found hundreds of thousands of dollars in questionable spending at St. Louis Public Schools, First Alert 4 Investigates has the only on-camera interview with interim superintendent Millicent Borishade. She is leading the district now that it's been rocked by her predecessor's questionable spending and hiring. First Alert 4's David Amilati has the new details for us tonight. David.
Sam, I sat down with the interim superintendent yesterday before more of the district's credit card spending became known. I'm told after our conversation, she decided to require all district credit card holders return their cards to the district. I asked her what she knew about the use of these credit cards throughout the district. I also asked her for the plan to address the other challenges facing SLPS.
I am a champion for children, a champion. From sunup to sundown, everything that I do is centered on students.
Interim Superintendent of St. Louis Public Schools, Millicent Borishade, says transparency is key as she works to put out several fires at SLPS. How are you not part of this problem?
When you look at all of the things that I was responsible for, scrutinize it, and you'll see that everything that I touched, everything that I did was about the children.
This week, a third-party investigation found former Superintendent Dr. Keisha Scarlett making questionable decisions with salary contracts and hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit card expenses. You read the report?
I've read some of it, yes.
What's your reaction to what's uncovered? I mean, you're talking about $200,000 plus in salary expenses, prepay, that's concerning, and then all these personal things. I mean, what's your reaction? You've known Dr. Scarlett for a while.
I did know her. I did know her. I wasn't aware that all of these things were happening.
What we're seeing in St. Louis isn't just a local scandal. It's a microcosm of a national problem. The system resists change because it's more interested in preserving jobs and political alliance than improving outcome for kids. That is why parents across the country are demanding school choices. They want to take their tax dollars where their children can actually learn, not where the politics are safest. And to take it a step further, a lot of parents have started homeschooling their children altogether. So here's the takeaway. St. Louis fired its superintendent without cause. No transparency, no accountability, and no direction. She just showed up to the office and they said, surprise! You don't have a job. See, this is another reminder that public school systems need serious reform and not more bureaucracy. They need leaders who can act boldly and boards willing to back them instead of bury them. Because if this cycle continues, if leadership keeps changing every few months, the only people who loses are the students. So what do you think? Was this firing justified, or was it just another political move to protect the system? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this breakdown helpful, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss any future updates. And if you have not seen my recent breakdown on Letitia James, where the media tried to cover up her mortgage fraud, but ended up proving her guilt instead, I'll link that video right above. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.